thank you for joining us. For those of you joining later, I'm Ebru, founder of Divorce and Wellbeing, DWB in short. Now DWB is reaching out by a series of virtual events. Originally, we had scheduled something else for the end of April, which was Fat Burn. But due to the current circumstances, we decided we should start with something which is of interest to all of us these days, which is how to strengthen our immune system. As these are the times we need to learn how to get strong and how to increase our resilience, I should say. So can I please remind everyone to keep your videos off and the microphone off during the entire session. For your questions, please use the chat box on the screen. When you write your questions, I will see them and I will read them out loud at the end of the session to Fleur, and I will read your names as well. So we're welcoming Fleur for the second time. Fleur kindly did a Food and Mood event in January for those of you who were able to join back then, which was a great success. And I'm pleased to welcome her again today. Fleur is a PNI clinician, psychoneurology, immunology. Is that right, Fleur?
Yes.
And a nutritional therapist. She has extensive experience, which she is going to share with us today. Before we begin, I would like to give you a quick 2-minute snapshot of DWB, what we do. At DWB, we help people facing relationship challenges, separation, and divorce to achieve a better outcome at a lower overall cost. In my working relationship, I adopt personal and client-centric approach based on mutual trust. There are 3 main principles to how I work. 1, working alongside family lawyers to make the process more efficient and cost-effective. 2, helping people to understand the process and achieve steady progress towards their desired outcome by providing them with practical and emotional support all along. And 3, coaching people to help them make better decisions based on emotional stability and clarity of thought. Coaching will also serve to empower my clients. In addition to these 3, I also introduce clients to other professionals that they may need during the process, who could be lawyers, financial planners, or therapists who would be suitable for their financial and personal circumstances. As in my experience, finding the right professional can often feel overwhelming. Okay, we have somebody else to join. Our well-being group, of course, is different because it's open to everybody, regardless of their relationship status. We aim to create a positive difference by bringing like-minded people together through social and now virtual events. Each of our events is run by fantastic professionals known to us. If you have any questions regarding DWB services, please contact me privately to arrange a 30-minute complimentary meeting. And if you know anyone who could be in need of our services, especially during these trying times, please pass the message along. And now, over to Fleur.
Thank you, Ebru. Hi, everyone. I hope you're well. Thank you very much, Ebru, for inviting me today. As Ebru said, we were going to talk about fat burning, but actually we thought it would be much more relevant to talk about the immune system, and ideas of what you can do at home to boost your resilience and stay well during this difficult time. As Ebru says, if you can stay on mute during the talk, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the screen, and I'm sure you're all used to Zoom now, there's a chat facility, so please do type in your questions as they crop up, and I will answer them at the end. So my name is Fleur Borelli. For those of you who don't know me, as Ebru said, I am a nutritional therapist, so I work with food as medicine. And I'm also a psychoneuroimmunologist, which is a real mouthful to pronounce, but basically it means I look after the immune system. So that's going to be my big focus today. And I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see my presentation. And to any of you who would like me to email it to you in a PDF format after this talk, I'm very happy to do that. So let me just get it up. Okay, so we're going to talk about boosting immunity to fight infections, and infections are an onslaught to the immune system. They come in the form of viruses, as in the COVID-19, also bacteria, and also fungi. So foreign agents coming into the body, basically, that our immune system has to deal with. So the one thing you can rest assured about is that we have a very complex immune system. Over the millions of years of evolution, we have developed this complex immune system. It's a super system to protect us against foreign invaders such as viruses and bacteria. It's quite complex. I'm going to explain a little bit about how it works today. First of all, you have your barriers. So your barriers are your skin and your digestive tract, your lungs, and your blood-brain barrier. And at all the barriers, you have immune cells waiting there to protect you against viruses and bacteria. And that's all forms part of your innate immune system, it's called. And when it's confronted with a bacteria or virus, it will try an anti-inflammatory approach, first of all. And then if that doesn't work, it'll try an inflammatory approach. So we tend to think of inflammation as a bad thing, but actually it's a good thing because it helps us to fight these pathogens. But the only thing is, you don't want the fight to go on for too long, because like it's been, the COVID-19 has been likened to a war, because we're under attack for a sustained period of time, and the immune system can cause wear and tear as well. So we want to fight these pathogens as quickly as possible, and I'm going to give you some strategies on how to do that. Another part of the immune system is what's called your adaptive immune system. And what it does is it produces antibodies to, when it's confronted with a foreign agent like a virus, it produces antibodies so that in future, if you meet this same strain again, then it can attack it and defeat it. So you will have heard a lot about herd immunity. So natural herd immunity is allowing your body naturally to fight, to produce antibodies to fight the virus strains, and then you have vaccine immunity, where you use a vaccine to provoke your immune system to produce antibodies. And also you have your microbiome. So your microbiome is the sum total of all your microbes in your body, and they exist in your gut. They are particularly diverse in your gut. They outnumber your cells in your body by 10 to 1. So it's like a huge living organ in your gut. But what people don't realize is that we also have a microbiome on our skin, and we have a microbiome in our nasal passages and in our lungs, and they all need supporting. So for example, a short-term fix at the moment, and it's a very important fix for the current climate, is that we're using antibacterial sprays and hand washes. We have to do that because we're under COVID-19 is particularly damaging, but actually once things calm down, it might be a good idea to reduce your use of antibacterial sprays and hand washes when you're not outside and on public transport, for example, because you want to build up your microbiome that protects you on your skin, in your nasal passages, and in your lungs. So yes, your microbiome is a massive part of your immune system, and everything communicates. So for example, if your digestive tract is happy, the immune system in your nasal passages, on your skin, in your lungs will be happy too. So eating properly, and I'm going to be talking a lot about food today, but also other techniques to boost your immune system. If your gut's happy, then chances are everywhere else is going to be happy too. Sorry, it's just got a little bit stuck, not sure why. I'm just gonna come out a minute. Hang on. Sorry about this, everyone. So hopefully this will do it. Okay. Okay, so we know we've got a threat around at the minute, a virus that's been given a name, COVID-19. We've had other COVID infections in the past that we've overcome. COVID-19 seems to be a particularly nasty one because it potentially can cause super infections, which is where it stimulates other infections. So this targets the lungs and can produce bacterial induced pneumonia. I want to say first of all that we shouldn't think of all viruses as bad, because viruses have lived quite happily with us. Their DNA can mingle with our DNA to the benefit of us, the host, and having viruses in our microbiome does help us to stop bacteria and fungi getting out of control. So viruses aren't always bad. This one is a little bit nasty. So what we need to do is look at all the resources we've got to boost our immune system to be able to protect us against this. Okay, so those of you that know me will recognize that I base everything I do on evolutionary biology. And from an evolutionary point of view, we know that our circadian rhythm is very important. Genetically, we are programmed for 12 hours of activity from when we wake up, and 12 hours of rest. And by adhering to this rhythm, we are looking after our immune system, because genetically we are hunter-gatherers. Our genes are very similar to those of our Paleolithic ancestors. And during their day, they would have been very active hunting and gathering. And so during the day, the immune system tends to be at the barriers because it's there to protect us in case we get wounded. And then at night, something different happens. When our pineal gland senses darkness, the immune system, we start to produce melatonin, and melatonin, you know, is your sleep hormone, but it's also your repair hormone. So it's antioxidative stress, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antiviral. So living according to your biorhythm is very important, particularly at this crazy time when we all have to stay at home. So as I say, it's genetic. Your rhythm is genetic. Some of you may have a strong feeling for whether you're a day person or a night person. Most of us are day people because we emigrated from Africa, and we developed this rhythm so that we could hunt while the larger predators were asleep during the day when the sun was hot. So most of us are morning people. Some of us are earlier than others. So be mindful of what you feel your natural rhythm might be, what makes you feel best. I mean, for me, typically, I think getting up between 7 and 8 o'clock works for me. I feel refreshed in the morning, and going to bed between 10 and 11. So we're going to be talking a little bit, or I'm going to be talking a little bit about sleep later on. But the first thing I can say is stick within your rhythm. I mean, most of us are trying to work from home. If your work routine was putting a little bit of strain on your body when you were out and about, now is the time to address that and adopt a rhythm, guilt-free, of maybe waking up a little later if that suits you best. Now, to boost your immune system, make it more resilient, I'm going to talk about 3 pillars of health. And of course, the first one is good nutrition. So one of the most important things is to make sure you include vegetables into your diet. I think now everyone has plenty of access to foods at the supermarket, but at the beginning it was really quite difficult, and some of us some people stockpiled on toilet rolls. I was one that I have to admit, did a little bit of stockpiling up of vegetables, because they're hugely important. We know that when we are under attack from viruses and bacteria, and you know, we meet them every day, our immune system's dealing with them every single day, and they do produce a little bit of oxidative stress, because I said when your immune system's fighting them, there's a bit of collateral damage, and eating plenty of vegetables is the antidote to that damage. So the vegetables do provide antioxidant support, and we know that diversity is key, because the more diverse the vegetable intake, the more diverse our beneficial bacteria, and they produce the antibacterial, antiviral substances we need. So when I have a client, I always ask, can you count how many vegetables do you eat each week? People say about 5, and I think the chances are when I've counted with them it's a whole lot more. But I'm going to ask you to aim for around 30 different vegetables in each week. If, for example, yellow peppers, red peppers, they count as different vegetables because they have different colors. And each color is because of a specific plant chemical called a phytochemical that is your best medicine. Plant food is your best medicine, and it sends information to your genes to act accordingly. So 30 different types of vegetables, and something like three mugs a day. And these can include cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, kale, something from the onion family, lots of color as you can see here. Root veg are a good carbohydrate source. Leaves, because eating some raw vegetables are important. And also prebiotics and probiotics. And I'm just going to explain what these are, because sometimes it's confusing, the difference between the two. So all vegetables and fruit are prebiotics in that they support your good bacteria. And often they're good prebiotics are things like asparagus and onions, and artichoke. Because your good bacteria like to break down the fiber that us humans can't break down, and that supports their growth. So those are prebiotics. And probiotics are foods that have been fermented to produce bacteria, good bacteria that will boost our bacteria. So good examples of probiotics are foods such as sauerkraut and kimchi that you can get easily, kombucha, and kefir, for example. So I would aim for, alongside your 3 mugs, a good dessert spoonful of probiotic foods each day. If you're not used to eating probiotic foods, they can cause a little digestive upset initially. Don't worry about that. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it should subside after a couple of days. And if that happens, maybe start small again, go with the teaspoon, and then gradually work up to a dessert spoon each day. So those beautiful things are oyster mushrooms, and I'm going to be talking about supplements later on, but for those of you, I always find mushrooms are a little bit like Marmite. You either love them or you hate them, but they're just so powerful for our immune system. And there are what we call super mushrooms, the oyster, the maitake, and the shiitake. I have seen shiitake in the supermarket, and they have immune boosting compounds called beta glucans, which are made up of sugar molecules that can bind to viruses, including COVID-19, and can remove them from the body. So if you like mushrooms, please do include them. If you don't like them particularly, then you can get supplements, and I'll, as I said, be talking about those at the end. And the great thing is they're high in protein, so eating a whole punnet is fantastic. So we've talked about vegetables with a particular focus on mushrooms that are also immune boosting and full of protein. What's also very valuable in your diet is omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids come from oily fish such as sardines, mackerel, and salmon. You can also find them for vegans in algae and seaweed, also walnuts, pecans, but also you get omega-3 fatty acids in free-range animal protein such as chicken, grass-fed meat, and also free-range eggs. And what's fantastic about omega-3 fatty acids are that they are anti-inflammatory, and it's very important always, but also at this time, that our diet is very high in anti-inflammatory fatty acids, because naturally, as I said earlier, when we are fighting bacteria and viruses, the immune system will produce inflammation, and actually that's beneficial, but you don't want that to go on for too long. And you may have heard, you may have read something about cytokine storms. So cytokine storms are when the immune system, it becomes a bit like a fire-breathing dragon. It suddenly rages out of control, and the body doesn't have enough raw materials, which are the omega-3 fatty acids, to produce an anti-inflammatory reaction. So eating plenty of omega-3 will help prevent any cytokine storm. We all know that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and there's a lot of research supporting the fact that both an apple or apple cider vinegar can protect against viruses, has antiviral effects. If you're eating the apple, then eat the pulp as well as the skin. Having apple cider vinegar in your cupboard is very useful. It's also probiotic. It supports your beneficial bacteria. Sometimes it can be a little bit harsh on sensitive digestive systems, so do dilute it in water and have a dessert spoonful of apple cider vinegar with 2 dessert spoonsful of water before a meal to help you with digestion, but also to protect your immune system as well. So those are the main foods that I'd like you to focus on. I'd also like to talk about the importance of activity. Exercise is anti-inflammatory. Even if you're not able to eat as well as you can on one particular day, exercise is absolutely essential. We're programmed in our day to be as active as possible to support our immune system. I'm sure, I don't know if you're like me, I sometimes feel that my bottom is glued to my chair and I'm in front of the screen a lot more often. But it's super important that you are getting out each day to have your exercise. As you know, it will help weight loss, burn fat, it makes you feel good. It's very important during this time that you're feeling as calm as possible, because feeling calm and feeling happy, feeling well, will produce antiviral compounds. So yeah, as I said, I seem to be sitting on my chair an awful lot, and we know that actually sitting for too long can creates obesity and metabolic syndrome. And we're seeing in hospitals now that those who are not fighting the COVID-19 as well as they could often have underlying health problems such as obesity and metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes and heart disease. And all of those have inflammation at the heart of those diseases. And by inflammation in this case, I mean chronic inflammation, the constant production of inflammatory compounds. And actually it's very simple. The antidote to sitting for too long, all you need to do is get up and stretch every 45 minutes to an hour to kickstart your metabolism again and break down sugar and fat. So you don't need to go off and do a workout. You just need to get up and put your arms up and stretch a little, and that's hugely important. So my third pillar of health is rest, because rest supports your immune system. So at the moment, we're all in our homes. Some of you may be with your families. Some of you may not be able to be with your families. Some of you may be missing elderly relatives, etc. This is hugely as important at the moment as a short-term fix. But actually long term it can be detrimental to your immune system. We know that that loneliness, for example, upregulates inflammatory markers associated with reduced viral protection. So it's very important that you maintain social contact. We've got social media sometimes now has become a wonderful thing. Do speak to your family and friends. Look after your neighbors if you can, and maintain contact and communication so that you're feeling good, you're making other people feel good, and that none of you are lonely. Manage your sleep environment. So at the beginning of this, I said that rest is hugely important, and some of that will be sleep. I imagine that some of you may feel a little bit more anxiety during this uncertain time, and your sleep quality may not be as good. And don't worry about that, but make sure your sleep conditions are right, and you manage your sleep environment. Our ancestors, we all emigrated from Africa, which is the picture on the left. You can see where this is a picture produced by NASA very recently. And you can see, apart from the major cities, there's very little light, and that's our natural environment. And yet if you see Europe on the right, that's we live in a very in environments that are very lit up, those of us that live in the city. So it's very important that you pay attention to good sleep hygiene. You make sure everything is dark when you go to sleep, no chinks of light, blackout blinds. If your curtains aren't working, stick a blanket over to make sure everything's in darkness. And also, if you're on your screens, that you are downloading software that reduces the blue light at night. So managing your sleep environment is hugely important. So you produce that melatonin that gives you antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory protection. So reduce stress, yeah, easily said than done. That's on your left, you see your genetic environment. We are hunter-gatherers, and yet we live in crazy environments. Things have calmed down a little bit now, but there's still a lot of tension, there's a lot of uncertainty. We are used to forward planning. We have holidays booked, we have trips away, we have work projects, and yet now is a time where we don't know what's going to happen, and we're in what's known as the here and now rather than the there and then. And the good thing about future planning is that it can we produce dopamine, and dopamine allows us to switch off from our current environment and prepare for the future, and that can be very beneficial, and it can reduce stress. But now we're stuck in the here and now. That's serotonin. Serotonin is also our happy neurotransmitter. So we need to make sure that our current environments are as happy places as possible, because when we get stressed, we produce inflammation. Again, not an inflammatory onslaught that will deal with an infection, but the low-grade inflammation that can cause wear and tear. So reduce your stress as much as possible. So a wonderful way, and there's so much science to support this, to reduce stress is by using music. So it's been scientifically proven that music will enhance positive emotions. And actually, there's been a lot of studies by an institute called the HeartMath Institute that looks at the impact of positive emotions on the body and on health. And our heart actually, when we elicit positive emotions, our heart actually sends signals to the brain to relax. So we kickstart our parasympathetic nervous system, our relaxation system, and studies show that increases our mucosal immunity. Our immune system is better prepared at the barriers to protect us. So music is a wonderful thing. Those of you who know me will know that I like hormetic triggers, and hormetic triggers is the idea that a little bit of something that's not hugely pleasant will actually stimulate the immune system to protect you. For example, heat and cold treatment, or intense exercise. Also, barefoot running, for example. I wouldn't advise barefoot running on pavements, but if you have an opportunity in a park that's not got any nasty things on the ground to, well, just to walk barefoot or to jog a little barefoot, that will stimulate your immune system. But apart from that, you can use hormetic triggers at home. So you could try having a hot bath a couple of times a week. You could have a 2-minute cold shower every other day after exercise. You could punctuate your sitting breaks with a minute of high intensity interval training. If you don't know what high intensity interval training is, it's moving very intensely for a very short period of time, starting at 30 seconds and working up to a minute. So you're out of breath, you can't go any further. You could include high intensity interval training into your exercise routine. For example, walking very quickly for a minute until you're completely out of breath, and then 2 minutes slowly to get your breath back. Also, intermittent fasting. I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. I know we've all taken a lot of comfort in food while we're in lockdown, but actually what would be, yeah, I mean, and to eat well is hugely beneficial, but maybe eating, instead of 6 times a day, eating 3 times a day with 5 hours in between. That's a form of intermittent fasting that you might like to try. If you're unused to that, then you can work slowly up to that, slowly working up to bigger and bigger gaps before your meals. And if you're someone like me used to intermittent fasting, then you could try 2 meals a day. But when you do eat, you need to eat really well and give yourself an opportunity to rest and digest. So I really like hormetic triggers. We live comfortable lives, even though in lockdown it may not seem so comfortable. I have 3 big teenagers here, who I had to persuade to stay in their rooms while I'm giving this talk. So, but we do live in comfort. We don't have those challenges that our Paleolithic ancestors had, to which we are genetically similar. So we can recreate them by giving a little bit of healthy stress to our bodies. So what I've talked about is, I've talked about your biorhythm. I've talked about, I'll just go back before I've talked about 3 pillars of health, which is good nutrition, particularly oily fish, plenty of vegetables, an anti-inflammatory diet, the importance of exercise but not sitting for too long, and the importance of giving yourself plenty of rest. And actually, you know, we have a strong work ethics. We feel we should be as productive as possible whilst we're at home, but this is also a wonderful time to sit back a little bit, to take stock, to think about what you want to take with you moving forwards, what you want to leave behind, to maybe catch up on your sleep a little bit. So at the least, this is a wonderful time for you to rest and to reconsider. So now I want to talk about supplements that we know strengthen your resistance. And as I said, I'm very happy to share this PowerPoint as a PDF to all those who want it. So vitamin C, and regardless of what I know, there's always plenty in the media about supplements work, supplements don't work. The supplements I'm talking about here are the ones where there's strong science to support their efficacy. Vitamin C is one. We get vitamin C in fruits and vegetables, but at the moment we need to have higher amounts of vitamin C. We know in China, but we know all over Asia, there's clinical trials going on, and vitamin C is being used, high dose vitamin C is being used intravenously to treat COVID cases, and actually it is advisable to take as a supplement. So a high dose supplement of vitamin C that you might like to have, maybe, but depending on your body size, but between 1 and 3 grams. You can buy it as a powder ascorbic acid that you can mix in water. Also vitamin D3, with vitamin D3. Vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. We produce it when sunlight hits our skin. We make it from cholesterol, actually. And during the winter months, we don't get a lot of sunshine on our skin. We have had in the UK a lot of sun recently, so hopefully you've been getting 15 minutes of warm sun on your skin each day. If not, then I would advise taking a supplement. Magnesium is anti-inflammatory. Also, zinc is being used in hospitals abroad to treat COVID-19. Selenium. So we've got magnesium 400 milligrams daily, zinc 20 milligrams daily, selenium 100 micrograms daily, and beta glucans, I mentioned them earlier. You can eat mushrooms, or if you don't like mushrooms, you can take, depending on body size, 700 to 1,500 milligrams a day and on an empty stomach. So those are supplements. We know there's tons of science supporting their effect on the immune system. So that's the end of my talk. It's important that each morning get up. If you're like me, I live in a flat. I don't have to walk very far from my bedroom to my computer, but do make an effort to go outside and to greet your day. Hopefully there's some sunshine. Practice your deep breathing, because when we're anxious, we tend to shallow breathe, but when we're breathing in for 6 counts and breathing out for 6 counts, we bring more oxygen into the lungs, and we start to use our parasympathetic nervous system. And it's very important that you stay calm, think positively, and stay happy. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you very much for listening. And if there are any questions now, I'm going to answer them. So,
yeah. That was great, Fleur. Thank you so much for a compact yet very informative presentation. And it's great that you will be sharing your resources with us as well. So far, we have a few questions.
Okay.
The first one is from Beza. I guess she would like to know more about vegetarian diet.
Okay. If vegetarian diet, first of all, vegetables are the most important. So as I said, it's important to have about 3 mugs of vegetables and about 30 different vegetables a week. What's also important within a vegetarian diet, that you get plenty of protein, because actually proteins help, they get converted into, as we're talking about the immune system, into immunoglobulins that line the barriers of our body and offer us antiviral protection. So eating plenty of protein is also very important. So if you're vegetarian and you eat fish, some people do, pescatarian, then that's fine. I would eat fish at least 4 times a week. If you eat eggs, and I really hope as a vegetarian you do, because of the omega-3 fatty acids and the fact that they're a perfect protein, I would advise eating at least 3 eggs a day. We tend to think of eggs as bad because they promote cholesterol, but there's no evidence to support this. And there's been a big meta-analysis of the impact of eggs on heart disease, and it was found that eating 21 eggs had the most favorable outcome. So if you're vegetarian, do eat eggs. And if you're vegan, then there are some great plant sources of protein. Mushrooms, for example, I'd have a punnet of mushrooms each day. If you're eating them every day, I'd try and get organic. Traditionally fermented tofu and tempeh, which is made from soya bean, is also a great source of protein for vegans and beneficial for the good bacteria too. So I'd eat a pack of that each day also. So just make all foods contain proteins, but some foods have better protein content than others. So make sure that's high enough.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Aisha. She's asking, what is the best time to have the vitamins? Morning or evening, after, before meals, for the ones that you haven't mentioned?
It's a really good question. And it varies. With beta glucans, it varies on the supplement really. So beta glucans are a particular example where it's better to have it away from meals. I also like to advise those who are taking probiotic supplements to boost their good bacteria that you have those half an hour before your first meal of the day, because the probiotic has to go through to the intestine. But some supplements, some vitamins and minerals are difficult to break down, and they can cause discomfort. And also they will get your digestive process going, because you need to produce saliva and stomach acid and digestive enzymes, because they're a food, the body treats it as a food. So it's better to have them with food. So your tablets and capsules, like magnesium, for example, or vitamin C, if you're taking it in a tablet, have it with food, because you'll digest it a lot better. So I would say, unless it states otherwise, have your supplement with your food. And it doesn't matter, doesn't always matter what time of day you have it. If you have magnesium at night, it can help you relax a little bit more, but it'll also support energy systems during the day. The one I would say I like to advise to have in the morning is omega-3. If you're taking an omega-3 supplement, we know it gets absorbed into the cell membrane better if you have it in the morning or with your first meal.
Okay, sounds great. And another question from Aisha. She is asking, what is the best routine for intermittent fasting?
Well, yes, good question. There's different ways. It depends on how stable your blood sugar levels are. Some people, if they're not used to skipping meals, so you might get a little bit shaky, or might get a real energy dip if you start to skip a meal, and that's perfectly normal. But that does change. You just need to make that change slowly. So I would start off with 3 meals, 5 hours in between. If that's too difficult, 3 hours, and then gradually work up to 5 hours. But if you're used to that, then you could have 2 meals a day, for example. You don't have to do that every day. Some days you can have 2 meals. You could have a late brunch and then an evening meal. That's easier if you exercise, because if you remember, if you're moving or if you're stretching a bit, then your metabolism starts to work and you make energy. So whatever works best for you, but a good starting point is 3 meals with 5 hours in between.
Sounds good. A question from Leonie Jones. Mug of vegetables, is this blitzed or whole vegetable or cooked or grated?
Sorry, Ebru.
So she's asking, when you refer to a mug of vegetables, is this blitzed or whole vegetables? Or
yeah, that's another good question. Yes, so I'm talking about in their raw form. Yeah, because they may reduce once they're cooked. So let's talk about cooking of vegetables. Eating some raw vegetables each day is a good idea. Although some vegetables like tomatoes work better for your body when they're cooked. If you're eating raw vegetables, if you have a sensitive digestive system, cooked vegetables might work better for you. If you're cooking your vegetables, steaming's great. Try not to boil them because you lose nutrients. Otherwise, gently baking them or roasting them in the oven is also good. And having them with butter or extra virgin olive oil as well, because that will help you absorb certain nutrients.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes, yes. So healthy fat is healthy. Healthy fats include good quality butter, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil for cooking.
What is good quality butter? Sorry, out of curiosity.
Well, the best quality, it's a good question, is if it's come from an animal that has been able to be outside and exercised and eaten pasture, for example, because the quality of the butter is better and you are more likely to get anti-inflammatory fats in that butter. So.
We have another question from Dr. Carolyn Barshall. She's asking, what is your view on taking melatonin at night for sleep problems?
Yes, I am, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not allowed to advise melatonin professionally because in the UK doctors are able to prescribe it, but I'm very much in favor with sleep issues for the use of melatonin. It doesn't have the effect of a sleeping pill. It's not so immediate, but we know it does. There's plenty of research that shows it does help to support the sleep-wake cycle, and certainly does help you to relax. So melatonin is available over the counter in the States, for example, or online, but I'm not allowed to prescribe it. But if you have it, I recommend it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, any more questions from anybody? I think I covered the ones written to me over the chat. So if you have any more questions, please type them now. This will be recorded. Well, this is being recorded, sorry, and we will be sharing the link on the clouds with you after the session, so you can come back to it, which is amazing, I think. But if you have any objections, any issues, please let me know.
Can I just say one thing, Ebru?
Of course.
I just want to say thank you so much to everybody, to Ebru, for giving me this opportunity, to everyone for joining me and supporting our cause. As you know, all profits from this are going to support a charity that funds personal protective equipment. Yeah. That's a subject after all our hearts. I know I have a sister who's a speech and language therapists working with upper respiratory tract infections and COVID in Kingston Hospital. That's she's been exposed from the beginning, and all our patients as a result of the lack. So just thank you so much for supporting this. It's
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for taking part in this, Fleur, and sharing all the useful information with us, because we really need it. Personally, I feel strong, but there are some down times that I'm experiencing.
Absolutely.
From time to time, and it's a good feeling to come together even on a virtual platform like this. And I am intending to do more of these in the future, hopefully with your support as well.
Absolutely, thank you.
Topics. And if you have no more questions, I think we'll end the session here.
Okay.
But please feel free to get in touch with me and get in touch with Fleur for any more questions. And as I mentioned, Fleur is going to share her resources with us very generously. And I hope to keep in touch. I'm sorry, I have one message, but it's a kind thank you message. So I thank you for participating today and hope to see you. I will add the participants to my mailing list, but if you don't want, you can always unsubscribe. And apart from that, please stay well, get more time to sleep. This could be an opportunity for catching up on sleep, like Claire mentioned, and I believe in that. And personally, I'm having an hour extra in the mornings, which feels really great when I can. And hopefully we'll be over with it before we know it. So, but we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining, and I hope to see you next time.